Okay, for pre-lab today, we're going to start the process of porting our application from a straight PHP implementation to one using the Laravel framework. The first thing we've got to do is get Laravel installed. Laravel requires that you use an installer called Composer. And Composer is already installed on the system. If you type which Composer, you ought to see this, it ought to respond with user local bin composer. If that's not showing up, if it's saying it can't find composer, then whenever I type composer, you're actually going to have to type the full path. You'd have to type user local bin to tell it where to find composer. But as long as you're working on the CSCI server, that command should be there. So to install Laravel, we're going to run this command, composer global require Laravel /installer. Take a note of this directory it changed into. Essentially what Composer is doing is it's creating a Composer command for you, and that command is going to be in a subdirectory here. It'll be config composer slash well, I'll show you here in a minute. Take note of this URL. You might want to copy that. And then what we're going to have to do is tell our system where to find the Laravel command. To do that, we're going to edit a file here from our home directory. If you want to be explicit, you can do it tilde. And the name of the file is .bashrc. And basically the bashrc file contains commands that get run when you log into your account. Somewhere in your bashrc you will likely see a statement. I'm down here at the bottom of mine that says export path equal $path. So we're setting the path variable equal to what it was before, stuck together with, that's what the semicolon here, or the colon is for. And then I'm adding a few things to my path. Notice I've already added this to my path. You need to add the same thing. You're going to add that URL that I just had you copy, which yours is probably /home/student/ your account name /.config/ composer, right? You're going to add to the end of that vendor/bin. Okay, so the idea is that this will now be in your path. So when you type a command, that's one of the places it'll look to find executable files. Once you've got a command similar to that in there, you can go ahead and save that. And basically what we want to do is run that bash command. So if you do tilde/.bashrc, it'll execute the commands in that file, which should update your path. Now if you type which Laravel, what we're hoping is it'll say, oh yes, I know where Laravel is. It's in the .config composer vendor bin folder, and the command is called Laravel. So if you get it up to that point, we're going to be good, because now you're ready to get to work. Now that we have Laravel installed, essentially what that installed is the Laravel command. We're going to change into the directory where you've been working. You know, up to this point, you've been doing all your work in a directory called SayIt. I would say just wherever that SayIt directory is, just right beside it, not in it. Let's create a new directory, because we're basically going to start a new program, new app. And so this app is going to be called Laravel new, and then we'll say SayIt-Laravel. This command is going to create a directory called SayIt-Laravel, and it's going to install a Laravel app in it. It does take a little bit of time for the Laravel command to execute. It has to pull in a whole bunch of packages and other things that essentially support it. If everything worked well, you'll get this message, application ready, build something amazing. So that's a good sign. So I'm going to change into my SayIt-Laravel directory. Remember, when you install this, you're going to get a huge number of directories and files in here. All this stuff is essentially now part of the Laravel framework, and we said create a new Laravel project. It created all this for us. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to split our application up into various places inside these directories, and it will help us organize our code a little bit. And we also get the benefits of using a framework. So downside of framework, notice how many files were created. There's way more files than we had in our entire project, and we haven't even started the project yet. So there's lots of overhead as far as that goes. Benefit is frameworks can provide a lot of built-in functionality that make it really nice, and they help you organize big programs. All right. Now that we've got it installed, we need to change some permissions, and you can just type these commands. We need to change the mode and set writable for everybody. So everybody plus write, and you're going to say storage/star minus capital R. Basically, there's a storage directory. This is where Laravel stores its log files, and our web server needs to be able to write to it, so we're making it writable by everybody, which will include our web server. We're going to do something similar. Change mode A plus W. There's a cache file that also needs to be written, or a directory that needs to be written by the web server. We want to make it writable. So that's what that command does. Laravel uses a file called .env. It's kind of a hidden file that stores environment variables. The reason you would put stuff in there is because sometimes when you are working on an app for development purposes, you have a development database, you have various settings that are specific to your development environment, and then when you go to production, you want to be able to override those values with something else, and so this env file is how you specify things specific to your environment. They have an example env file called .env.example. We're going to copy that to .env, so this will be our official one, and we're going to run a command here. It's going to take a few seconds for this to run. Composer update no scripts. That just kind of makes sure that our installation is up to date. And the no scripts basically tells it to ignore a composer.json file. So now that we have our Laravel application installed, there's a command called artisan. You say php artisan, it runs the artisan command. It gives you shortcuts to kind of, from the command line, do all kinds of pretty handy things. We're going to ask it to generate a key for our app. This is just a requirement of Laravel, and you could try to generate it yourself, but it's a lot easier if you let artisan do it for you. Having said that, let's edit this .env file and make some changes to it. Few things. One is you can go ahead and name the app. So I'm going to call mine SayIt. We'll just leave those at the default. I'm going to go ahead and do secure connection for mine. You can do whatever you want. But basically, I'm going to put the URL of my app. So this is going to be running at csci.hsutx.edu/tilde/tsargent/SayIt Laravel. Obviously, what you're going to put here is the URL of your SayIt Laravel app. And this is just going to tell Laravel what our home directory looks like. So that's our app URL. And go ahead and you can just leave the database stuff in here. Obviously, that's not valid right now. We'll fill that in with some other stuff. Basically, everything from Redis on down, I'm going to comment out by putting a hashtag in the front of it. Basically, I just commented out all those lines there. I think that's all we're going to have to do for this env file. So I'm going to save that and exit. And then one more file we need to fool around with, this config app.php. And I'm going to go ahead and set the time zone to America/Chicago. that'll make reading our log files a little friendlier. All right. There may be one other step we have to do. I'm going to be an optimist and say we don't have to do it. If we get into things and it doesn't work, we'll come back and go from there. So that, in a nutshell, is how to get Laravel installed. One more quick thing. It would be good for us to test and see if that's true. So up here, it's tsargent, SayIt, Laravel. And if all goes well, you'll get a directory listing that shows all this. If you click on public, it should show you this kind of hello world Laravel page. So that's what it ought to look like before we move on.